Movies with my best friend.
Welcome to Movies with My Best Friend Phil, a movie podcast that is a party, is a disco, and absolutely is fooling around. I'm your host, Phil Kessel, joined as always by two of my best friends, Will Chotis.
Hey, Phil, how you doing, bud?
My guy, I am good.
You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man.
Cool.
Things are good.
Oh, man, I'm so glad to hear that because every time I think about you, I'm like, I bet you Phil's doing terribly. He's got so much responsibilities.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, me and responsibility, we go together like fish and waffles. Also joined by another best friend. As per usual, if you're listening, you know exactly who's coming next. It is Greg Norland.
Hey.
Hey, Greg.
Oh, no.
What's wrong?
Here
I'm
we
sorry,
go.
did I get something wrong?
What happened?
It's pronounced Norleon.
Oh, Craig New Orleans.
Yes, New Orleans.
Oh, gosh, yes. Craig, how are you on this beautiful Thursday night?
I probably shouldn't tell this story because it'll just lead to me being ridiculed, but I'm going
I
to
can't
anyway.
wait.
I think it was my freshman yearbook
Mm-hmm.
that they posted a picture of me at homecoming, and they got my name wrong, but they also just couldn't get the syntax right. And so
Oh, no. Oh, no.
it's the sentence was Greg Norland dances, and it was Norland dances was one word with his
love
date.
that.
And so for about a year or so, people called me Greg Norland dances.
That's pretty good.
That's
That's better than
pretty
what
good.
I was in the yearbook for.
yeah, that's
Oh no.
high school yearbook for you.
Mhm.
Classic. Yeah, we you know what's fun though about this episode? This is kind of a fun one. We actually have a special guest I didn't tell either
What?
of you about.
Really?
Yeah, so give me 1 second. Let me see if they'll come in. They're a little shy.
I hope it's Mr. L.
Okay. Oh no.
Oh, is he dead? Where'd he go? It's just a bald head.
Oh. Oh.
puppy.
It's a puppy.
Wow. What does that got to do with high school? I'm confused. Phil has a new dog, though. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with high school. I
Oh,
just
okay.
wanted to.
Yeah. What's your dog's name? What's your new
Yeah,
dog's
his name is Fitz.
Fitz?
He
Fitz?
is a wire-haired pointing griffon.
Huh.
Oh.
They also call them
okay.
griffs. He's very cute.
Mm-hmm.
He's very small. He's full of pee. But aren't we all?
So he's a
That was a
griffin?
poem. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was a mythical beast of some sort.
No, I mean, you saw his wings, right? And his
Yeah.
head of a lion?
No, head of a bird.
Bird?
Yeah, eagle head.
Eagle.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not real, so, they can be whatever you want them to be.
You just saw it, Will.
You just saw him. He's
It's
real.
true. It's true.
No, he's very cute. We got him from Idaho.
Wow.
He
Oh.
flew in all on his own on Wednesday.
Really?
Griffins can fly, so I'm not
It's-
surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he flew in. I mean, he flew in on a plane because
I don't know
that would
how-
be a little tiring for his wings.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
fully developed.
Oh, that's a good
right.
point.
So
Oh.
Sheba is relatively indifferent,
Oh.
/ kind of annoyed with him, but she'll get there. She'll come around.
Are you going to train him to be a gun dog?
So he is like in that like sporting dog, gun dog. Like,
Yeah, because I've heard that
group.
their temperament is very proud, gentle, loyal, vigilant, and trainable. This is just off the dome.
Yeah, honestly, that describes him perfectly. You should write little blurbs about dog breeds for like, I don't know, some sort of like national agency for like naming
Dog
dogs
breeds?
or something. Yeah.
No, pass.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah, he's definitely proud.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely the other things you said that I've already forgotten.
Loyal,
Trainable.
vigilant, and trainable.
He's definitely loyal. He follows us around. It's very cute.
That is cute.
Trainable, we shall see.
Well,
he's
yeah,
getting
it's
there.
a puppy.
He's getting there.
Yeah.
He can like kind of almost sit.
How
for me.
old is he?
He is, I think, 9 weeks,
Wow.
9 or 10
So
weeks.
that's a little puppy.
He's a little boy.
He's just gonna keep growing though.
Yeah, he's gonna be as big as Sheba in like 2 months, and then he's
geez.
gonna get noticeably bigger than her. He's gonna get to like 55 pounds probably. He's a big
Wow.
boy.
Very cool. Well, congratulations. Welcome to the podcast. I think now is probably the best time to let. No,
That's Fitz making that noise.
No,
not
it
me.
was Phil. I don't know why you did that, but it's okay.
No, it's Fitz. He was chewing on the mic.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think now is a perfect time to let Craig know that we are letting him go. It has been
Aw.
fine.
Okay.
You've been an okay employee.
Thanks.
You've been adequate.
Yes, you definitely were here, but we're going to go with a different direction because we'd rather have a dog on the podcast.
Yeah, I get it. I've been quiet quitting for the last year and a half.
Oh, is that what you've been doing? Because I just
Yeah.
thought you were a lazy asshole. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's it.
Oh,
We
boy.
took him to the dog park yesterday. It was so much fun. We met like 25 dogs. We also met a wolf, which I sent you guys a picture of.
Oh.
Talked to the guy. So we're standing there. Dogs love puppies. So like
Right.
all the dogs were coming up to Fitz to sniff his butt.
Hmm. Like you do.
And he was fine with it. He did great. There was only one instance where he was like, hey, I'm not so sure about this. And I think it was the other dog's fault. It was not my dog's fault. But all the dogs were sniffing at Fitz, and we were surrounded by like a crowd of like 8 dogs at this point. And then I look, and I'm like, I'm in the process of standing up because I've been on the ground. And I look, and there's this giant, glorious, majestic looking canine of some sort. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I know in my mind, I was like, okay, they do hybrids of wolves and dogs. So maybe it's just that. But something is very unique about this dog. And I saw the owner. I was like, what is that? And he was like, completely nonchalant, like it was no big deal. That's a gray wolf. And I was like, okay. Do you want to elaborate? It's just a wolf in a dog park?
Yeah. That sounds really illegal.
So I haven't done any research into this, but from
Yeah.
what the guy was saying is that when you as soon as they're done weaning, if you then raise them in like a dog type fashion, they are super gentle and totally fine. I'm still a little iffy on it, but this wolf was very nice. I mean, very not interested in anyone.
Yeah.
Because the guy even gave me like some dog biscuits to feed him, and the dog was like, he gave me a look like, I'm not so sure about you, so I'm just gonna back away.
I might come back and
I was
kill you,
devastated.
but for now, I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
gonna step back.
Well, here's the thing: this guy comes to this dog park that is very close to our house. He comes to this dog park, like 4 times a week. So I'm going to befriend this wolf, and I'm going to befriend this guy, and I'm going to befriend more wolves. This is a dream come true for me.
You've
You're gonna
become
lead your own wolf pack.
exceedingly strange. The longer time you spend in Colorado.
That's what Colorado does to you, man.
Just every time I talk to you, you're picking up something I wouldn't have guessed. You know?
Are you talking about the skull I bought?
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe
Listen,
breaking
I've
your toe when you went like sandboarding.
Listen,
Buying a
I'm
truck?
entering my
What's going
weird
on
boy
with you,
era.
man?
this is my weird boy
You got
era.
a gun dog? Like, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I have no interest in getting a gun. Although everyone at work was talking about how everyone in Denver should have a gun, because apparently there was somebody on our road on the road that our office was on that like had a knife, like a big hunting knife, and was just stabbing a bucket and walking around like all crazed. And they were like, "Oh yeah, he better not come near me. I'm got a gun." I was like,
Try that in a small town.
yeah, I'm like, guys, you're gonna be in your car. Just
Also-
drive away.
Also, like, this is here's the thing though. I've never met a gun owner and thought to myself, you should really own a gun. Do you know what I mean? It's always been something along the lines of, I feel less safe. Yeah, the more
Yeah.
you talk, the less safe I feel.
Yeah,
You know, and you're trying to make me feel safe right now.
yeah.
So you're just like really bad at stuff.
No, Will. What you gotta understand, and this is Colorado boy talking. You know, I know this stuff now.
Okay.
Is like, it's a good guy with a gun will 100% of the time stop a bad guy with a gun
Right. Unless he's a
or a
cop.
hunting knife who's stabbing buckets, and you can easily just drive around him.
Right. Well, you got to
Definitely
shoot
shoot
that
that guy.
Yeah, you got to
Because like obviously he's not suffering from like
Yeah.
a mental illness and like doesn't need medical help. Anyways,
I have this idea for if I ever have a sketch show or get good at TikTok.
listen,
do
I would
this-
love if you had a sketch show.
I'm going to do a skit where it's
Truly.
just like a guy gets pulled over by like a cop, and the cop is just terrified of the man, just like comically afraid, just like peeing his pants. He's so scared of the man. Because like all of these stories are always like when you see them at the depositions, they're like, I was fearing for my life when I shot the 12-year-old black boy, you know. I was
Yeah.
like, I was scared to death. It was the most scared I'd ever been in my life. And I'm like, you're a cop.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear this from you. Like, I don't want to hear that you were
I was shaking
scared.
in my boots.
That's not what you tell me.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Oh boy.
I'm gonna do that one day. I'm
I
never
would
gonna do
love that.
I'm never
Please
gonna
do it. Start a TikTok. Well, maybe not a TikTok because it'll steal all of your data.
I
And give
mean,
it to-
I'm
China,
I
I think?
play it real fast and loose with my data. I get a lot of spam calls.
yeah. Whoa, man. I have been getting.
I need to button it up, and I don't know how.
I don't either. I've been getting texts from Temu and Young LA for the last year, and I don't know. You can't report those as spam because it's a fake number service that sends out text messages. It's not a thing you can block.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
Republicans think I am a 60-year-old boomer or 70-year-old boomer named Paul, and they keep like sending me AARP stuff, and like I'm like, you guys you're not even fishing right. It's not even my name.
You'd think they'd know how to fish. Hey-o.
Hey.
Yeah. Anyways,
Hey.
we live in a nightmarescape, and our country's run on a bunch of grifters. So every time you're like, how do I stop people from stealing my money? The answer is always, well, spend money on a service that you have to pay money for. I'm like, isn't that the same as having people steal money from me? No, because this is into a business. Okay, great. How do I make sure that business isn't going to steal more money from me? Well, what you do is you hire another person who you give money to. I
Yep.
see what we've done here.
It comes full circle.
Yes.
It's scams all the way down.
Yeah, and then when all the boomers die, all the millennials are going to be like, none of us can keep living, so we're all going to die. And then Gen Z is going to be like, okay, cool. I don't know where this is
Cool.
going. I'm just
Cool,
really
we'll be fine.
depressed.
So, is there a
Gen
smart
Z's cool,
place?
though.
Is there a smart place to keep your money? Like, let's say, a sort of, a
Oh.
billfold holder thinger.
Mine,
Oh, you're thinking of a closet.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
I have one of those, but the problem is I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll put money into it, and then you put coins into it, and then they roll out on the ground, and I'm like,
Yeah.
even gravity is
Oh.
trying to take money from me.
You know what you did wrong is that it wasn't Dogecoin.
That's right.
It was regular coins. You should be buying Dogecoin.
Wallet.
Am I Oh, wallet. Yeah,
Right. It's wallet. That's it.
wallet. Yeah.
That's right. It's time for the segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and pull out some recommendations. It's time for What's in Your Wallet? And hey, Phil, what do you think Craig's got in his wallet? Craig, what's in your wallet?
I think it's going to be something Halloween adjacent because this is
Probably.
technically our Halloween episode.
Is
Kind of.
It's going to come out like 2 days after Halloween. So
Yeah, but we don't have
Yeah.
one coming out before.
well,
like,
we just
we just released one, I
yeah,
guess,
you-
which
you-
was
you're
a
right.
kind of weird.
The timing of it was bad, but whatever.
Yeah, it's all good. So I kind of have a grab bag. I'll keep it short and
Gee,
sweet on all of
don't
them.
put that on video. I don't want to see it.
Okay. Yep, got it. So first, I watched a movie that was recommended to
Yeah.
me by many things and people, and it is called No One Will Save You. Did you end up seeing it, Phil?
No, not yet.
Okay. So if you want a different kind of alien invasion, because it feels very small. The story is very small. It all takes place in this small town. Small. I'm just
Small.
going to keep saying small.
Small. Is it like, how many of the small things is it? Is it all of them?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all of them. So in general, I would say I enjoyed it. I don't think it's my favorite alien movie. I like Signs better.
Signs is so good.
So good. But the main, there's like no dialogue in it. The main actress says like maybe 5 to 10 lines throughout the whole thing. So she has to do a lot with very little. Like she's not talking to herself. You see some of those movies where a person's like basically by themselves the whole time, and you can't just have a movie with nothing happening, like no one's talking. So they tend to talk to themselves, and this movie
Yeah.
does not do that. She
Oh.
she conveys everything through, what is she doing throughout the day? What are some context clues and what you can figure out what the mystery is, that sort of stuff. Why she lives alone and all that. But so I recommend that one. And then yesterday I went and took Peter and Jonas to the theater to see Nightmare Before Christmas
Oh, cool.
for its
Nice.
30th anniversary, and that was super fun.
Did they like it? No, were they scared?
No, they liked it. Pete
Yeah.
had seen at least bits and pieces of it, and he said he wasn't so sure because he thought it made him sad.
Hmm.
And he said afterwards, he's like, there were parts that made my tummy feel weird. And what he was
Oh.
trying to express is that he was feeling anxious about
Yeah.
Christmas being ruined and, Jack getting shot out of the sky and all those kind of things. And I'm like, oh, buddy, I'm sorry.
So-
but also, like, I went through so much of that as a kid.
Yeah. Jack had a very interesting. We showed it to him, not in the theaters. We showed him the movie a little while ago, and we were like, okay, Jack, this might be a little scary. If it gets too scary, we can fast forward or we can stop watching it. Whatever you want. And when it was over, he just turned to us and was like, when's the scary parts? And I was like, okay, so
Oh.
you're a little different than I was. He also, we watch a lot of like Disney Plus and there's like the superhero stuff. So he's kind of obsessed with like good guys and bad guys right now, which I don't love because, there's more to it. So you always have to explain, well, he's not a bad guy. He's just having a bad day and he's being, trying to explain the
He's
nuances
just having
of
a
the
bad
Green
day, wiping out
Goblin.
half the universe.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as moral ambiguity.
Yeah, so he's like, but this movie, like, he's like, who's the bad guy? And I'm like, well, Oogie Boogie's the bad guy. Well, where's Oogie Boogie? I'm like, well, he kind of doesn't really have to do with it. He's like, well, why are they shooting Jack now? Well, because Jack was giving presents that were scary. Right, but Jack's the good guy. I was like, well, he was kind of the bad guy in this. And Jack's like, my son was like, what? I was like, oh, yeah, this movie has like, no story and is essentially a story of white privilege gone awry. Interesting. Huh.
Also, midlife crisis.
Yeah, it's like a midlife crisis of a guy who's like, I have everything and I want more. I'm going to just steal this because I don't understand it. And it'll
Yeah.
be mine. And there's like his whole Jack's lament. And he's like, what the heck? You know, he has like a song where he says like, but at least I gave them some stories they could tell. You know, I may have
Yeah.
screwed this all up, but well, you know, I did it. I wasn't that bad. I'm just
It's
like,
an experience.
yeah, I was like, huh. Jack kind of sucks. Interesting.
So I've seen the movie so many times
Same.
that half the time it was fine that I wasn't watching it. I was trying to keep Jonas from walking around or doing his recliner up and down. Like, he was definitely a little distracted. He's seen it before and he
Yeah.
likes it, but this was definitely, it was better that Pete saw it. I think he really loved it. And I'm trying to show him different movies because he's not necessarily a big movie person. So yeah, that's still one of my favorites.
You should show
And-
him Once Upon a Time in the West or Mandy. Those are two of my
Yeah,
favorites.
those are
You might
two.
like those.
Real quick, I also watched Day of the Dead last night.
Oh,
That is the kind of like the third, like the trilogy of Romero films: Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, and
I
or
thought it
Dawn
was
of the
Spy
Dead.
Kids 1, 2, and 3.
Also that. And yeah, that's also very good. It's very different from the other ones. This takes place underground, and you have basically what they're led to believe is the last 12 people on Earth, and half of them are like scientists or assorted like a helicopter pilot, and the rest of them are all military. And you think 12 people could get their act together to save the world, but it's just not going to happen. So
Classic.
it's a pretty depressing movie.
I mean,
but
listen, I've
yeah.
met 12 people, and I agree.
Yeah.
I think the movie nailed it. I've never
Yeah.
seen it, but I assume.
So yeah, if you liked Dawn of the Dead, I don't think this is better than that, but it's pretty close. It's a good movie. It's definitely more of a thinking person's zombie movie. Anyway, that's it.
I have not seen like most of the like classic zombie movies. My zombie movie history starts in like the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah.
And nothing earlier than that.
So you haven't seen Night of the Living Dead?
Mm-mm. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've not sat down and watched the whole thing.
That's one of those movies where you think it's not going to be scary or disturbing because it's old.
Yeah.
It's from the late 60s. But I wouldn't have been surprised if people were like throwing up while watching that movie, because I forget every single time how gross it is for being black and white and being, you know, you have that kind of haze in front of the picture because it's so old. You're like, nothing scary from this time. You're like, oh God, what the hell?
I should try. Jack doesn't love scary movies, but she's fine with zombie movies. So maybe we'll watch some of those.
Yeah.
This weekend for ye olde Halloween. You know
And you
what I'm
can
saying?
find Night of the Living Dead everywhere because Romero famously did not sign off on the rights, or he did something wrong. I forget what the exact story was, but so anyone can anyone can release that movie on video
wow.
or streaming services.
Even us?
So yeah, technically, if we wanted to put the
Movies
money
with my
into it.
best friend Phil presents Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
We'll do our commentary on it. That'll be our contribution.
All right. Sorry about all the recommendations at once.
No, I like it.
I did.
Will, what you got?
Oh, sorry. So, I was going to recommend a video game. I was going to recommend Fallout 4, which I was enjoying a lot of, and I realized the reason why I was enjoying it was because
it reminded you of me and you miss me?
I mean, yes, to be fair, a little bit, because Phil, you have introduced me more or less to like tabletop role playing a little bit. Like we haven't done much, but you
Yeah.
introduced me to Get in the Trunk. And I realized after listening to this podcast that I was like, oh wait, like that's this system is sort of what Fallout kind of is based off of in a lot of ways. You know, these like original RPGs that. Tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons inspired all of the RPGs that I play on video game systems. Anyways, so I started listening to playing that, and I ran out of Get in the Trunk episodes. So I started watching and listening to another podcast on the Glass Cannon Network, which is a network of podcasts that do tabletop role-playing games. This one's called Androids and Aliens. So what I realize I'm really liking about, so what this podcast is, for if anyone is like heard us talk about tabletop RPGs and they're like, I still don't really understand what the hell they're talking about. Basically, it's a precursor to video games or board games in a way, where you sit down, somebody is in charge, they're the dungeon master or the game master or the general manager or something. And,
Game Daddy.
Yeah, and everyone else is playable characters. So they pretend to be, like in Dungeons and Dragons, it's like elves and things. But in the podcast Androids and Aliens, they're playing Starfinder, which is like Dungeons and Dragons, except for it takes place in the future. So it's got space goblins and stuff, and like elves, and then and androids and things,
And lasers.
So, but basically, what it is you sit around and you have definite mechanics that are very video gamey, but you do a lot of role playing, which is like you talk as your character, you pretend to be the character. We did this when we did our Pistol or Stamen episode. Stamen or Pistol?
One of the two.
It's one of the two, which hopefully we will do again, because we definitely got a whole lot of people giving us tons of thumbs up saying we got to do another one. And it wasn't like dead radio silence from the people who listened to it. That's
Perfect.
definitely not what happened. Anyways, so what I realize I'm really enjoying about this, is it's fun because it's listening to a group of friends pretend to be orcs and things. So in between pretending to be monsters and orcs and fighting spaceships and things, they're also making jokes, kind of, like you do, and just being friends. But also they're doing a whole lot of, you're hearing like sort of how they want to craft their stories that they're telling. So what it really is it's very much a storytelling sort of podcast. And you're getting these guys sort of like try and figure out how to play not as themselves, but as the characters they're playing. So it's a weird sort of like hybrid of like nerdy mathing and then also like character creation. And the other thing that's great about it is they are going off of a I guess you would call it a campaign or adventure that was more or less pre-written in the sense that the scenarios are written. So it has a very good like story as well. So like this story is about these like star cadets basically who show up on this space station, and they are immediately thrust into this mystery where there's this asteroid that is floating in space that like people have gone to investigate and have died, or not come back from. So they have to go and check out what it is. So there's this big mystery going on. And so that, like even the other thing that keeps me listening is just the sheer wanting to know what happens next. So anyways, I don't know if that sounds appealing to anybody, but it is sort of like all the things that I like about podcasts. It's like yeah, I don't know. And the guys over at the Glass Cannon Network seem to be kind of the best at it. And
yeah, I have listened to a lot of different
Yeah.
actual play podcasts, and I think they're the best. For me, at least, I think they hit the right ratio of it's very funny. Like, you will laugh out loud so many
Yes.
times because the goofs are really genuinely good. And you, Troy, because you're too funny and I hate it sometimes.
Yeah.
He's so quick sometimes
Yes.
that I'm just
Well,
like,
he's-
God.
So the Glass Cannon Network, I looked it up because I was curious. Troy LaValle is his name. He was an actor comedian. That's what he was trying to become, and he got back into Dungeons and Dragons and was like, you know, he was like, I'm not making it as a stand-up or an actor. Like, why don't I record this? This is hilarious, and I know that there are people out there who like this kind of stuff and would listen, you know. And so that's just kind of how it goes. So Troy is usually the dungeon master, and he's just so funny. Like, in this, there is they keep turning the television on and like seeing a news report, and the guy is Roger Glorpglorp. It's just like, he's like, "Hi, I'm Roger Glorpglorp," and I don't know. It's Troy doing the funny voice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They,
You just gotta listen to it. It's great.
Yeah. They hit a really good balance of goofs, fun story, and then, like you were saying, they kind of walk through their storytelling.
Yeah.
Into, like, the Dungeon Master doesn't as much, but like
Right. The dungeon
when they're
master,
playing the character, there's
Yeah.
a lot of like, okay, I want this to happen
Yeah.
because I want the character. I feel like the character would be doing this,
Yeah.
and they kind of say that. There's a lot of other podcasts that I feel like either do too much of that, and then
Mm.
you're like, what am I even listening to? Or they don't do any of that, and
Yeah.
you're like, I'm listening to an audio drama, which is fine, but I wanted this balance. They've got,
Yeah.
no, they for me, they're the best.
Well, and I like also how they take their role playing very seriously while goofing around. Like, the one guy who I'm beginning to like is Joe, I think is his name. He's also he's the GM for Get in the Trunk.
Yeah,
but-
Joe.
He plays as a character in this who's like a soldier and like a kind of like a hero type character, and so his character will be like completely impaired and like totally have no health points left, and he's like, I think this is a stupid idea, but this is something Dax would do. Dax would run in here, so that's what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, they're like, but don't do it, you're gonna die. And he's like, but this is what Dax would do because that's his character, you know. And
yeah,
of course, so then he like
you-
dies or something.
Yeah, they like.
Yeah, but it's
You're-
interesting. I don't know. I like it a lot.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm really glad that
Yeah.
I've poisoned you.
Oh man, I stayed up late last night listening to a podcast. I was like, this is
Yes.
I cannot be doing this. This is so irresponsible. I am operating on so little sleep. And this
Mhm.
podcast is not going anywhere. Why am I doing this?
Yep.
Craig,
it consumes.
got
your
anything to
life.
add? You know?
Yeah, Craig.
Nope.
No, just
Yeah,
bored. Just
Kurd.
bored with this conversation.
Mr. Expert Chair Thrower over there.
hmm
Mr. I'm perfect at RPGs, so I don't need to listen to other RPGs.
I was listening. It sounds interesting. I don't know. You guys have to just tell me what to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick,
Mm.
Phil,
Yeah.
did you end up finishing Project Hail Mary?
I didn't finish it yet.
Okay.
I also didn't start it yet.
Oh man, I thought you actually started it. Okay.
No, not
All right.
yet. I'll give it a
That's all right.
shot. I know
That's
I'm
all
gonna
right.
like it. It's just it takes so much. There's so much runway for me leading up to reading a book,
Mm.
and I don't know why. I like books. I like stories. I don't know why I struggle so much getting
What
started.
What are we talking? What are we talking about right now? Is this an off-pod conversation we're just sort of throwing into the pod right now?
It's something I know will be his recommendation
Oh, okay.
As soon as I
And-
finish it,
as soon as he actually finished it, because it has. I'm assuming Phil's favorite character in all of pop culture is in this book.
He just
So,
doesn't know it yet.
He just doesn't know it yet. I
Okay.
really need him to just
okay.
do this thing.
All right. I will try and get it started this week.
All right.
I can't give you a firmer date than that. I don't have anything in my wallet. There's a puppy.
Really?
Okay.
That's all it is. It's a puppy.
Yeah.
I've done other things. I've watched things, but there's a puppy in my house.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Phil
He's very
also
cute.
before we started, we were chatting off pod before this, and he was talking about how he saw the wolf. So his other recommendation is to go outside and pet some wolves.
Yes, actually.
You were saying that, right?
Absolutely.
You were like, what you do is you put ground beef down your pants and you go outside in the
Because
Colorado.
you can't just hold it.
Well, right, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, because where are you going to put the steaks? You know,
Exactly.
you got to put them in your
Steaks
hands.
don't go in your pants.
No, those.
That's why we have pockets.
Ugh.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are. I'm not
Steak
good
pocket,
steaks
ground beef
down my
underwear,
pants. Come on,
and then you've got your hands free for petting.
there you go.
That's the rules of Colorado.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the rules of
so-
Colorado, there is probably Psycho Killer from Colorado.
I mean, Columbine. happened here.
Columbine's not really
Uh-oh.
Psycho Killer.
Columbine happened like probably a couple miles from my house.
Ooh, whoa,
Ugh.
spooky. No, incorrect. Sorry. Not spooky.
So did you add on to the last episode that we changed
Mhm.
the order
Yeah.
things? Okay.
Yes, right. So what Craig is talking about is that we watched Roadhouse this week. So
Yes,
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse is no. We watched Stop Making Sense. So Stop Making Sense is a 1984 American concert film featuring a live performance by the American rock band Talking Heads. It's directed by Jonathan Demme. And
Demi.
Oh, whoops. Directed by Jonathan Demme. It stars David Byrne, Chris France, Jerry Harrison, and Tina Weymouth, aka Talking Heads. It is 88 minutes long. $1.2 million budget. It made $9 million. How do you guys think this did on Rotten Tomatoes?
150%.
151%.
Phil is closer with it's 100%.
Yeah. As
Dang it.
as it fucking should be.
Yes. So I know people are going to assume it's Will's turn next. Will must have picked this movie. And for those of you who know me personally, they know that I love this movie. And so it
Yep.
makes perfect sense that Craig picked this movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Craig, why did you pick this movie?
So I had seen the news about them re-releasing Stop Making Sense for its 40th anniversary. And A24 bought the worldwide rights to it to distribute it to theaters and release a physical copy in about a month or so. They're going to come out with a 4K, but it's been remastered. I haven't seen this before, so I can't say if it looked different.
You haven't seen any version of it.
No, I have not seen any version of this. But I saw that this was coming out. I've heard that this was the greatest concert film ever made, next to like The Last Waltz, which is about the band.
Mm-hmm. Which band?
And so the band.
Yeah, I
you
know
know,
which one.
the band.
Yeah, obviously the band that's in the
Who-
movie,
who?
but which one?
Was
it The Who?
First
yes.
base.
Yes.
Yes. The
Or-
band, yes.
Wait, guess who?
Craig, I can't hear you. I got nothing.
I think that's all of
Yeah.
them. That's all the ones I can
That's
think
all
of.
of them.
Rush.
Oh,
Wait, no,
Jefferson
that's not
Starship? No, that doesn't work.
No, that doesn't work. So I've been hearing about this, and I saw they were coming out in theaters again, and I thought, what is the one movie I could pick that no one would think I picked? Because it is so out of my wheelhouse, because I'm not a big... Okay, go ahead, Phil.
No, I was going to say it's so out of your wheelhouse, but almost more importantly, it's so in someone else's wheelhouse that no one would have ever thought that you picked this one.
I know. I'm not like a music person. It's not my like area of pop culture. Everything else basically is, but I didn't grow up on this music. I grew up on Christian music. That's what I listen to mostly. Sorry,
Woo!
Will.
I've played a lot of it.
I did not listen to Creed.
I'm sorry. What?
No, never listened to Creed.
Creed was the band that made me feel cool that I went to church.
Wait, Creed
Yep, no.
was. Oh, I forgot. Like all of those like sneaky Christian rock bands.
POD,
Yeah, of like the
Oh
early
yeah,
2000s.
I liked POD too.
Evanescence.
Was Reliant K? That was one too.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, it was like cool to be like that. Like, yeah, you had your everyone had like Frog or WWJD
Or
and it was
Toad.
like, or
Yeah.
Toad. Toad was one.
I don't know. You said Frog.
Yeah, that was one. Fully Rely on God was the one I had.
Oh, I don't remember that.
yeah, I had that one. I thought it was
Toad.
Oh
cool.
boy.
And everyone was like, yeah, Jesus would have skateboarded if he lived now. You know, that
Yep.
kind of stuff. And you're
Yeah,
like,
that
my,
was kind of the culture.
my youth pastor's cool because he plays the guitar.
Mhm.
Actually, I've never seen him play it now that I think on it. He just holds it a lot.
So while I will still defend some of the bands I listened to growing up are still good bands, I would say for the most part, I didn't have a lot of musical background. I
Played
didn't
the
really
flute
get into
in
played
band.
the flute. Yep. So
Toot toot.
I am not the person that you would ask about popular bands of the 70s going into the 80s.
I will say, Reliant K does slap.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I am still a fan of Reliant K.
Ah,
so-
thanks, Phil.
I don't want anything bad to be said. They're goofy, but like
Yeah.
they're goofy, pure little boys.
Yes.
I'm sure that's not true. So I grew up watching this movie. Like,
I watched this at your house when I was a kid.
yeah, I don't know if you remember, but I can't remember if we were in the same band. Were we in the same band class in 8th grade? You did early morning band, right?
Yeah, but that was 6th.
Oh, right. I meant, was it 7th grade then?
I don't
Oh.
think we were in the same band in 7th or 8th.
Oh, okay. Well, at some point they like did like a music show and tell where people got to bring in stuff that was super like music that was important to them, and I showed the DVD of Life During Wartime of that song and said like this is the most important bit of movie like musical stuff ever, because like that song I was like, oh, you can be cool and weird at the same time. Like, how does that work? You know? Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, Craig, did you know that like this movie was like this was a big deal movie for me at
Nope.
all? Because like
No.
when
I mean, I knew you probably had seen it just
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure you know a lot, like 20 million times more about white people music,
that's correct.
like
Yeah.
boomer music than I do.
Oh, I know hell of a lot about boomer music. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, about the only one I have is the Beach Boys, and that's not going to take me that far.
Yeah, which is weird because I never listened to the Beach Boys. Everyone's like,
Oh,
Pet Sounds
man.
is great. And I'm like,
It is.
haven't listened to it.
It's tremendous. It's a perfect album.
Anywho, I forgot what I was going to say actually. So, now I remember. So we went and saw this in the theaters, which is why we did a little switcheroo on the movie picking. Because it was like, oh, it's coming out, and we were like, oh, we could record this 2-3 weeks from now, and then watch the Warriors this week and record. I was like, let's just flip them, so that it's like
Yeah.
in our brain, so that we don't have to, you know. But yeah, how did you feel about your first time watching Stop Making Sense, Craig?
I loved it so much.
That is correct.
Yes.
You said the right answer.
It, I don't know how I feel like you were pretty confident the whole time that I was going to like it.
Oh,
I don't know. Were
Yeah.
you nervous?
I don't know. I wasn't nervous about you liking it or not. I knew that I was going to have a good time regardless of whether or not you had a good time. I'm getting better at that. Like when it comes to like showing people movies. But I thought, I'm like, Craig's going to like this. I thought like you maybe, okay. I guess my thought was there's no way he'll hate this. He just may not care that much about it. Because I know that you're not really a music guy. So you might just kind of be like, yeah, I mean, But
That's what I was afraid of. I was like, okay, everyone thinks this is great, but that's because like they're huge fans of Talking Heads,
Right.
or they've seen a lot of concert films, and so they just know what a good one looks like.
yeah.
And I haven't seen a lot of them, but
I haven't really either. I realize like I've seen a lot of like live performances of bands
Sure.
playing, but I haven't seen many like concert films. Like I owned a bunch of like Queen live at the Bowl, live Queen on Fire, I think was one of it, live at Wembley Stadium, but those are all just like live recordings. They weren't like a concert film.
yeah.
So before we talk any further, I would love to hear how Phil, you saw this movie on Friday,
I saw it on Saturday.
and you said you saw this at my house, but did you remember any of it?
I remember the big suit.
Yeah, that's what
'Cause
everybody
that-
remembers.
Yeah, that struck me as a youth.
Yeah.
As like, what's happening right now? I'm sure I saw more of it, but that's the only thing I can remember.
Right.
And I think watching it, I was like, oh, this is cool. But it was at the time, I think it was more like, oh, I'm just hanging out with my friend Will, so that's
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
So like, I wasn't really listening to it. I wasn't really paying attention. I was probably also playing video games on the other TV.
I was about to
would
say,
be my
like,
guess.
there's no way we sat down and watched that movie like like the way we do now. It had to have been on in the background amid a full conversation about Dragon Ball Z. You
Yep.
know, because that's how you watch movies when you're 13, 14, however old
Yeah,
you were. when
something
we
like
hung out.
that.
How old are you? How old are people typically in 7th grade? I don't know.
12, 13?
12, 13?
13, 14?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
Does anyone want to, for the listener who has maybe not seen this yet, does anyone want to give a, like, I don't know, sort of like a description of like what this movie is aside from just watching people play instruments?
Yeah, so it's funny because it like there's an arc to it as
Mhm.
opposed to like and I think I watched an interview of David Byrne talking about this that like he didn't want it to just be the same like play song after song after song after song and then you're done.
Yeah.
So there's an arc to this where like
Right.
they started out and it's just him
Yeah.
in a boombox.
Yeah.
And then more people join over the course of the concert, and then there's this like epic.
Tina Weymouth comes in, and so it's him and the bassist, and then the drummer comes in,
Mhm.
so it's and then the guitarist / keyboardist, and then the full band by like I think it's like the 4th or the 5th song or whatever.
It's the
Everyone's
fifth
there.
song, yeah.
Yeah. Which is a cool way to do it.
Yeah, it's really like it's a cool texturing thing
Yeah.
aside from the texture of the music that adds to this really cool experience that like because it's just him starting out, it really kind of draws you in to David
Mhm.
Byrne,
Right.
and then he leads you
Right.
through with the rest of the band, and you kind of almost feel like you are in the band because you were there before the rest of the band, and like there's a whole this was a
that's interesting.
magical experience.
Yes, it's a very
Like,
fun.
This was
So-
true. I've never seen a concert movie. I told Jack when I got home that I was like, all live shows that I have ever seen need to move down one rank to make room for what I just saw.
Awesome.
I like the just going on how the order, like him starting out by himself and then adding the bass player, like them they can't have the song Heaven happen any other time. It has to be the second song
Yeah.
because it is just him and there's someone else singing that's off stage.
Yeah, on stage they have 2 backup singers, another guitarist, another synthesizer keyboard person. This is when they're all there, and then a
Yeah.
percussionist like doing all
Oh
the
man,
bongos,
the
gongos.
auxiliary percussionist, man.
Yeah,
That
it's-
is my dream job. That man was so happy.
I think his name was Steve Scales or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said
I think
that's
so.
ironic because he doesn't need him.
Yeah.
And there we go. and
Got it.
I'm gonna leave now. Anyways, but yeah, no, yeah, one of the backup singers is singing with him during Heaven, and she's not quite on stage yet. But yeah, I don't know why.
But it like having everyone out there and then it's just him. Like, it doesn't feel, after watching this, it wouldn't feel right to have that song any other time.
Yeah,
Because it's a more intimate song. It's the slowest song they play the whole set. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think Heaven is. It is actually. On this viewing, I was struck by how I felt like it was kind of an odd choice for a second song. It is interesting that you were kind of like talking about how you thought it was great placement, because I was thinking more like it feels like we just get going and it slows way down in a lot of ways. And I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing it in any way. I'm not. I was just sort of like, that was actually probably one of the moments where I was like, I wonder if Craig's enjoying himself.
No, honestly, that was because I've only I knew probably about 5 or 6 songs out of this, not realizing that Psycho Killer was one of their songs.
Oh, really?
I've known that song. Yeah, I'm bad with that sort of stuff. You could be like, oh yeah, David Bowie did this song. I'd be like, oh really? And be like, yeah, obviously, idiot. I've had that happen a couple times.
Yeah. Oh, I did. As we were walking in, I'm like, how familiar are you with Talking Heads? And you're like, yeah, the one that's, that one. And I'm like, I think you were singing Road to Nowhere or something like that.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah,
Road to Nowhere? I'm like, oh yeah, and then I was like, so, okay, a few, but yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it started off with Psycho Killer, and I was like, okay, cool. I know this one. And then I went to the next one, but I was just like, it was more, because I still think it's a build-up. It's not like we're really got going, because it's just him. I don't think that's like, Psycho Killer's a pretty simple song musically. I mean, he even talks about it being not a very, like, it's their first hit.
Yeah.
So it's a build up still.
Yeah.
I think and I think the way that they add each person each time, that really feeds into it.
Yeah. And the other thing that's great about that song, Heaven, which maybe we should play a little bit of it because we've been talking about it for a while. And Phil's going to be here on the 1s and 2s coming in. Yeah, so it's just him and the bassist Tina Weymouth.
Everyone is trying to get to the bar. Name of the bar. The bar is called Heaven.
So I love the lyrics to this movie. This song is because it's heaven, and it's about and the lyric continues like, heaven is a place where nothing ever happens. And it's this idea, and it sounds like such a pretty song, and it's really kind of this. That's one of my favorite parts about Talking Heads is that you listen to the song, you're like, gosh, this is a bop. And then you break down the lyrics, and you're just like, oh, this is also hilarious. You know what I mean? and really weird, like, oh man, it was. This Must Be the Place, I think, or maybe it's Once in a Lifetime, where it's just like there was water on the bottom of the ocean is one of the lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, that's Native Melody. This is not my beautiful house. And the days go by. Yeah. Or even, Life During Wartime is this like peppy song, but it's all about like life during wartime. I don't know. You guys have been listening to this after we saw it. Do you guys have a favorite track of yours?
It's always going to be Psycho Killer.
Really?
I love that song.
You want to play a little bit of it? We might as well. We got it queued up, and I want people to go and listen to this after it makes way more sense to make a podcast about music now that I think on it.
I mean, I'm there. I'll do it. I was in a band that played a mashup of Psycho Killer and Burn It Down the House.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just think it's a really fun song. It's a really good song. And
But
this is a really cool.
This is a cool version of it. I actually, I think I was like maybe 25 when I heard the actual version of this song. And I was like, wait, what is this? I'm like, oh, someone's covering Talking Heads. And I was like, no, Will, this is Psycho Killer. I was like, oh, I'm used to, yeah. Because it's just him and he's got this little drum machine. So after this, Phil, the rest of the movie was just kind of downhill for you. You're like, okay, I get it. I get what you're doing. I'm done.
No, it freaking locked me in. It was like, oh, what's your favorite song by this band?
Here it is.
We're gonna play it first, and then somehow the concert's just gonna get better.
Yes.
Is he saying fa with an F or is it a ba with a B?
I think it's a pho.
Yeah,
That's the first time I heard it that sound like a fa.
Because I think it's
But it's better run
far
away.
better. Far Yeah, I think it's pho.
It's fa better. Run.
Yeah.
He's just to me. So I've always thought writing music was like this impossible thing. Like I can't figure out how people do it. And I've listened to a few artists on the writing process, and what I'm shocked to realize is like a lot of times when they're coming up with the lyrics or coming up with the melody for a song, they're just singing nonsense. And like so one of the things I was thinking, it was like Radio Gaga by Queen.
Yeah.
Roger Taylor was just saying Radio Gaga because he had a small son and his son liked it. And it was just nonsense because he couldn't like think of any lyrics, and then it made sense. So like he might have just been like, wow, thought it sounded good, and he kept it in because it doesn't. Yeah. Man, there's some other song that did that a lot as well, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah.
Will, do you have a favorite?
I do have a favorite.
Wait, let me guess.
Okay.
Oh no, I just left the album. Give me a second. Give me a second.
All right, let's see if you got this. Let's see. Mm-hmm.
Life During Wartime.
Yeah, it's Life During Wartime.
Okay.
That's the one that I turned to you and said, this is the most important song from my childhood. And you just were like, what? Because he does this dance in it where he's like moving his arms and legs in a funny fashion. And like, I would do that all the time. Like at all high school dances, I was doing David Byrne moves. Like he taught me that you can be tall, gangly, awkward, and white and still move your body to music in a way that people find interesting. You know? Like,
yeah.
You know? And so like when I say that this movie was like incredibly important to me, it was just like, you could be like, he was just so weird and so approachable, but also like cool. I think that's the one thing that stands out with this movie is this is both like a goofy, funny, really well executed art house movie all at the same time. There's like there's a lot for everybody. Like movie nerds will like this, music nerds will like this, strange people will like this, you know, like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's just, yeah.
It hits all of your buttons.
Yeah. And, but Life During Wartime is definitely the one, which if you want to play a little bit of it, I would not say no to that song.
Hell yeah.
Oh, none there. Yeah, I mean, the song. anyways, yeah, like anyway. Caitlin has a little chalkboard thing that was like, I love you because, and you fill in the chalkboard thing, and it was, you dance like David Byrne, So like,
Yeah.
What about you, Craig? Do you have a favorite song off of this?
I mean, that one is up there. What I realized is that my work listens to Ann Arbor Radio 107.1. They play a lot of Talking Heads.
Yeah.
And so that's why I know as much as I do, is because, but again, it was like half of those I didn't know it was them. I just knew the song. I'm going to have to go with Making Flippy Floppy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Making Flippy Floppy.
Everybody, get in line. Nothing can come between us.
Oh, yeah. This is like
It's the yeah, that.
the bass part, basically. I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
is.
Nothing turns you on.
It's just so,
It's really funky.
it's really funky. I like it.
Yeah, I was like, now that I'm older and I know more about music, and I'm a guitarist, I'm always fascinated. I always watch the guitarists because it's like I can understand what they're doing. And, what I like about it is none of it is super complicated what they're doing. It's not like a bunch of like long runs or like really difficult arpeggios. It's just like a lot of like spastic energy, almost like a lot of playing the one music. Like at one point, who's the guitarist? Is Jerry Harrison? Yeah, Jerry Harrison is playing the guitar, but all he's doing is palm muting and adding like a. It might be for that song the whole time, and it just like adds this level of energy that is great. I don't know.
Yeah, they seem like one of those bands that I feel like studio bands sometimes are just the wicked like best at their instrument
Yeah,
and at playing together.
yeah,
And watching this, sometimes I was like, it feels like this is a band, because I'm not massively familiar with them.
Mhm.
I knew the hits, but to me it felt like a Toto, where like Toto had like a hit or two hits.
Two
They're
hits,
like
I
a
think.
really, really good, really musically talented studio band
Really.
that has some like crazy music. And this to me felt kind of similar, where it was like I knew the hits and I knew I liked those hits, but I hadn't like dove into the actual like parts
Right.
of the music. But then when you're watching a concert film, you're kind of forced, in a good way, I guess,
Well-
to like listen to each thing because you're watching the person do it. And I'm just like, Jesus, these guys are so fucking talented. And then on top of that, it was like the most joyous performance. It was just best friends
Yeah.
playing music together, and I love that.
I think actually that is what makes this movie stand out more. Like I feel like this movie is it's like, what is the phrase? It's like greater than the sum of its parts in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it stands out above, like when I listen to a regular Talking Head song, I'm always a little bit disappointed it's not the Stop Making Sense version, because it doesn't have that same sort of like energy to it.
Yeah.
And it's not like people playing together, because I think the problem with I always thought like really studio bands, I'm always like, okay, like, all right, so the Beatles started off as a live band, right? And then they moved on to being a studio exclusive band because they weren't good enough musicians. Like they were all really good songwriters, but they couldn't like play their songs, or like it would be too complicated to play, or all this
Live,
stuff
yeah.
to play it live. So like I, as a musician, and have really come to love the live performances, because it's completely different. Like to bring it back to Queen, there is an album that they made in their later times called Hot Space, and it is hot garbage.
Oh no!
It is. I think in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, it's like the Dark Night of the Soul moment for the band when they're about to all break up. Is because they just made Hot Space, which is funny and absolutely not at all what happened in real life. But the reason why I hate that album isn't because the songs are bad, is because it's produced like a disco album. And it sounds bad, like it's a drum machine, and there's a lot of like keyboardy stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
it just doesn't sound like Queen. And they have a live album called Queen on Fire Live at the Bowl that was what am I trying to say? It was during their Hot Space tour, and it's my favorite live Queen album, and I love all of the songs from Hot Space that they play. But I hate
that's
every
interesting.
recording of Hot Space I've ever heard because it's bad. It's produced badly and it's overly processed. So I think there is some sort of like magic to a live performance. Granted,
It also.
yeah.
Oh, go.
No, I was going to go completely different. So you.
I was gonna say
respond.
it also helps like the magic of, and you were talking about this, that like he makes you feel like it's okay to be weird.
Yeah.
And the whole band is fully in on, I'm gonna say shtick because I don't know the right word. It's not a shtick.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a bit. It's not like a goof. He's not doing it to be funny, but also he might be. Like,
yeah.
he just is. He seems so earnest on stage as a performer, doing all of these things that are weird, but they fit, and you like from another person they might not work.
I feel like he understands his role really well, which is what I like. It's unpretentious in that way, because I feel like a lot of times in the 70s and 80s it was like, well, this is metal, like we're summoning the devil, and it was all like and then you like listen to Alice Cooper's music and I'm like, this just sounds like Rocky Horror music, you know what I mean? Like this doesn't like this isn't like scary or anything. It's like, yeah, mom and dad, you suck. Anyways, I'm getting way
School's
off
out
topic.
for the summer.
Yeah, school's out. Yeah.
Aren't you 25?
Like, what is this? Ew.
Yeah. There's something so uncurated. I'm sure this was like a huge ordeal and undertaking to like get this all perfect, but there's something so uncurated about the vibe that again, it just feels like friends hanging out. And I think it's really interesting. I am a fan of Taylor Swift, so I'm not saying anything negative, and I have not seen the Eras movie. I was almost going to see it as a joke, and then come here not having seen Stop Making Sense and having seen the Eras movie, but I didn't do that. But I think it's really interesting that it's in theaters at the same time, because that is like, that concert is such a like curated, choreographed, everything in its perfect place type of deal. And this is so far in the other direction. And both are valid. Both are fine. There's just something very magical that I wasn't expecting about this. And I think David Byrne might not be a human and might be some sort of higher being.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some interviews.
He's a weird guy. And
yeah, I've seen some interviews and he seems pretty all right. I don't know anything about him personally. He might be a terrible person. I don't know.
He's a difficult person to work with, is what I've gathered from hearing. Like Chris France had a book come out. Chris France, who is the drummer who is married to the bassist Tina Weymouth, had a book come out a few years back where he was saying like, he would be like, yeah, David kind of was really hard to work with and kind of a jerk at times. He was a perfectionist and he wanted things, and like if he had an idea, we're all going to do the idea, And
that's so interesting to hear, given what I just said.
And one of the things that's funny is like David Byrne told them all to wear very non-colorful outfits for this concert. Because he wanted to, use their outfits with different colored lighting and stuff. And Chris France, I don't know if you noticed, was wearing a bright blue turquoise polo shirt. And it was because his laundry wasn't done, or so he says. I'm wondering if
he did that on purpose.
Just a little bit of him going like, "Hey, Dave, look at my shirt." Yeah.
I watched
you just a little bit.
Yeah.
They had I watched today, it was a quick, like, 15-minute interview about the re-release of the movie. So it had all four of them together, which apparently is very rare.
Yeah, they don't really get along anymore. They
No.
used to have they split with David Byrne, and they had a band called the Heads, I think. And their
Yeah.
album was No Talking, Just Head, which is an
Yeah.
awesome title for an album.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Apparently it was terrible.
Ah.
Anyways.
So they were talking about the interviewer, to his credit, he was asking some pretty hard questions to them. And, like, even directed at David Byrne about, did you think you hurt people during the whole breakup? And, a lot of the answers were pretty vague. You could tell because there are parts where it's just the drummer and the bassist that are talking. But the reason I bring this up is because David Byrne does bring up that he felt that things started to go, starting with this tour. This is the last tour they ever did. Because he was focusing, he was a perfectionist. He wanted everything to be a certain way for this. He was pouring so much into this movie, this concert movie. So everything had to be, like, choreographed down to the, like, everything. So when you said it, because I think it does look spontaneous, or not spontaneous, but it doesn't look manufactured the same way that some concert films,
Right.
I've seen look.
I think the difference here is he wanted people to do certain things at certain times, but what he was asking of people to do, and he himself is not like a professional choreographer, so that amateur sort of, like, just movement makes it feel like it doesn't have a sense of polish to it.
Yeah.
And I think that is why
That's probably 100%.
Yeah. So, like, rewatching this movie, knowing that, like, they eventually broke up because they didn't get along, I was sort of, like, looking for clues for that, and I didn't really see any of it. I think they were probably, like, even if they weren't getting along, they were probably, like, still having a hell of a time making this movie.
Steve Scales, the aux percussionist,
Yeah.
that guy is the happiest person I might have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
What a joy.
They still had a couple albums after this. It's not like they broke up.
Yeah.
I mean, they still had, like, 7 years until they broke up.
Yeah. But
something like that.
Yeah. So they probably, I don't know. So, like, I'm not saying, like, I don't want, I didn't want to, like, bring all that up. So, because you know how sometimes when you watch something with, like, more of the inside knowledge, it kind of, like, ruins it, because you're like, oh, apparently they weren't, and so, but
it's interesting, and it's always impressive to me when people can put on that kind of show when there is, like, obviously the biggest example, maybe not biggest, but, like, one of the most, like, big examples is Fleetwood Mac. Is, like, Rumors is one of the best albums of all time.
Right.
And it is, like, just all of them hating each other the entire time.
See,
Really?
Oh, yeah. All the songs on Rumors are, like, about other
Each other.
members of the band in a really, really mean way.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
look
what
it up
happens
sometime.
when-
It's f***ed up.
That's what happens when everyone sleeps together.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's
That's why this podcast is breaking up.
Yeah, when you hear tension, it's because one of us is, not
Whew.
pulling their weight.
Not kissing.
Not kissing. Yeah, Craig.
Yep.
I think actually you guys are kind of hitting the nail on the head as to why I sort of love this time of music, because it's like I love the band. I just love the four dudes from different, maybe, well, exactly the same background. That was the wrong way to start that.
Yep.
But like the four dudes and the different personalities, like that's why I love listening to Queen, is because now, I've spent so much time like learning about the four different band members that while I'm hearing songs, I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of Freddie Mercury's personality. Here's John Deacon coming through, you know. And,
I have a question.
Okay.
For Queen,
Mm-hmm.
Which Ninja Turtle is which?
Great question. Just an amazing question that I absolutely have an answer to. Let's see. Ooh, this is tough.
Which one does machines?
Definitely John Deacon does machines because he made.
Okay.
Even though you would think Brian May, oh man, that's close because Brian May built his own guitar, but John Deacon made an amp as well. So they're both very handy dudes. I think Freddie Mercury's probably Raphael. Roger Taylor's probably Michelangelo. He was the bigger goofball of them. Freddie got a little more heated at things. And maybe Brian May is Leonardo because he was kind of the rock, the leader of the group a bit. In terms of pushing forward their sound and stuff. So I don't know.
I feel like I love this. I feel like this might be my new thing. Is I'm just gonna ask you which Ninja Turtle, whatever we're talking about, is.
I think that yeah. I might swap. No, see, I think Brian May's too much of a leader. See, Donatello to me is like he doesn't always get into it.
He's a second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
for
Brian
sure.
May's got to be Leonardo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I like that.
So I wanted to comment on the experience of going to the theater and seeing this, because I think if you're seeing this at home, which is honestly how a lot of people are going to see this now, since it was only in theaters for like a week or so, you're not getting that unusual concert experience, because when we went and saw this, there were a lot of people in our auditorium.
Whoa.
But there were enough that so the people behind us,
there was like 3 groups of 2 dudes hanging out. Like we were among our peers for sure.
Yes. So what I was thinking the whole time is we were literally in the opposite of the Eras tour. We were a bunch of old white men.
Yeah.
Watching a band from the 70s.
Yeah.
So we had a group behind us who I was worried about at first because they were talking throughout the whole, like, all the trailers, everything. They were talking pretty loud, and I was like, man, am I going to have to tell them to shut up?
I'm going to have to kill them?
As soon as the music started in earnest, I'm like, all right, we're good. But they clapped after every single song.
I was every single time I had to like fight the urge. I was like, you're not at a concert.
Yeah.
They can't hear you.
So
yeah,
I have to say,
every single time I was like, shoot, no.
So weirdly, this is the second time I've seen this in a theater. Not that weirdly, considering the story I told earlier. But this was a much better experience simply because last time I saw it at the well, yes, and never mind. What was I going to say? Oh, the last time I saw it was at the Michigan Theater, and the seats aren't that comfy. So that was, and the Michigan Theater is always like, every time I go to the Michigan Theater, they're like, all right, we're going to start the movie now after we talk. And you're like, oh, God. Anyways,
the theater I saw it in had the old school seats.
Yeah.
Not the recliner ones. And I was kind of mad because I paid the same amount of money for a seat. I was a little bummed. There were, when I got there and through most of through like half the trailers, there was no one there. No, I guess it was before the trailers. Through like a bunch of the pre-movie stuff, pre-trailer stuff, there was like no one there. It was me and 2 other people. And I was like, oh, this is, I guess, what I expected. And then a group of like 10 people walked in. And as they were walking past me, one guy leaned over. He's like, you gonna mind if we get up and dance in the aisle there? And I was like, no, man, it's the vibe. Go for it. And then they didn't fucking dance. I was really sad.
How dare?
Did you kill him?
I know. I did.
Oh.
No, I just it would have been a real cool vibe if they got up and danced.
There was something that happened that almost ruined the entire experience for me, which was before the movie even started, there was a trailer for something called Journey to Bethlehem that I
I
was
didn't get that one.
90% sure. Like, I'm like, oh, so Craig is just pranking me and we're doing something else completely
Yeah.
different today.
Yeah.
Which is a movie, a musical comedy-ish movie about Mary discovering that she's pregnant with Jesus Christ. And the funniest thing is when the trailer ended, those guys who were talking the whole time just yelled, "That's going to make so little money."
Yeah.
I
And at the end, it's like, buy your bulk tickets now. I'm like, oh, it's this thing again.
I was like watching it with my jaw just getting further and further and further and closer to the floor. I'm like, I cannot believe this is
Who-
real.
I
Who
didn't
with
get that
Antonio
one.
Banderas
Yeah.
is in it. Oh my
it
god.
looks so bad. And also,
Oh,
but it's
man.
also got like the thing that I think makes me want to kill myself is it's got that sort of like quippy sort of Disney feel. So like
Yeah.
Joseph is like having a conversation with a donkey at one point, and there's like a whole conversation where like in the trailer, Mary's like, "Hey, guess what? God came into my room and now I'm pregnant." And he's like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone said, "Well, that just happened."
I was
I'm
just
pretty
like-
sure.
Yeah, and it was just like,
Oh no.
and then there
you
was,
guys
of
want to
course,
go see it?
no. There was a moment in the trailer where they're like, you're having a baby. What are you going to name it?" And then like zoom in and she's like, "Jesus." And I was like, I hate
It would
this.
have been,
I want to die.
it would have been really funny if they zoomed in and she was like, Frank.
Yeah.
God.
Todd.
Yeah. So I was like, I was like writhing in my seat. I was so
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Oh man, I wish I had
I
been
was
there.
clapping and laughing. I was having a great time.
Yeah. He was buying his
Oh,
tickets
man.
for it bulk online
Yeah,
after it was
uh-huh.
over. Holy hell.
Did you see
So-
the trailer for
Oh,
yeah, I mean I'm pretty sure you know what I'm going to ask about.
Sure.
Dream Scenario
oh yeah.
with Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited about
I
that.
was so excited.
That looks awesome.
That saved all the previews
Yeah.
were absolute ass until that one came.
Yes, absolutely.
There was a couple in front of us to the right, and they were quiet most of the time until Once in a Lifetime started up,
hmm
and he was pumping his
Oh
fist.
yeah.
He was
having a great
really
time.
getting into it,
Yeah.
and his wife was motionless, nothing. I'm like, he dragged her to see this, but
Yeah.
his excitement was contagious. Like, I was like, hell yeah. It's like I'm at a concert, but there's barely anyone here. But we're bringing the momentum anyway.
I wish I had moved to the front. Honestly,
Yeah.
because there was no one in the front section. I feel like that would have been rad.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, no one asked yet, but 5 out of 5 for me.
I could have just went and saw that again. Like, that is one of the, I haven't had that feeling in a while of wanting to like rewatch a movie
Yeah.
that quickly, and I want to see it again
Yeah.
because I could not stop tapping my foot
So-
and moving around.
So about 2/3 of the way through the film, David Byrne exits to go put on his infamous suit,
Big suit.
and they play a song called "Genius of Love," which is what is his name? Chris France and Terry Weymouth's. This song. Phil, did you recognize this song?
No, was I supposed to?
This part here
Oh, yeah.
is like the most sampled song of all time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No,
Yeah.
I totally noticed that. I thought you meant like this actual song
Oh, yeah,
from
no,
somewhere
yeah.
else. I was like, I don't recognize all of this, but I definitely recognize the horn line
I'm
for
gonna
sure.
have some fun. Fun, natural fun.
Fun, nasty fun.
The girls can do it too, y'all.
But anyways, this was always the song that my dad, while we were watching this as kids, would just skip.
Really?
He didn't like it. He didn't like this one. He's like, ugh, no David Byrne. Oh, woman singing? No. He didn't say that. No, he like
Pete has been saying James Brown randomly.
But yeah, no, I just thought it was so funny that I was like, that like, oh, by the way, they're going to play as one of their side projects. Oh, and by the way, their side project just so happens to contain like the most sampled, like there are like playlists on Spotify that you can like go like songs that feature Genius of Love, and it's just like dozens and dozens. Like I feel like once a year I'm like, seeing a Coke commercial and I'm like, oh, Genius of Love, there it is again. Anyways.
It's in a Mariah Carey song.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I don't even know what else to say about this because it was one of the best experiences in a theater I've ever had.
No, this was truly wonderful. I think everyone should go see this. I'm going to buy it on vinyl. Not the video, because that doesn't make any sense, but the music. It's just good.
I wonder if I have it on vinyl. I don't think I do.
So I thought was interesting is that the VHS and the Laserdisc had more songs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And so they had Cities, Big Business, and I, Zimbra.
Yeah. I think there was also a couple like there's a couple different versions where there's different songs. I mean, they shot this, I was telling Craig, they shot this over 4 nights. So if you're eagle-eyed, you can see that some of the lip flap or whatever doesn't quite match because he's not exactly singing the right thing at the right time. And that's also, I think I was keeping a tally, and I think I got up to 7. I saw 7 cameras only because the way they shot it was like they did all the cameras from the front, then they did all the cameras that were close-ups, and then they did all the cameras from like the side. Each night it was a different. So like when you see it cutting and you don't see the, that's why you don't see any cameras. Like you only see them every once in a while, and they're like they're hard to see. They're hard to pick out because yeah. So
yeah, we didn't really talk about the actual movie itself.
Well,
but this is strangely, I mean, at the time it wasn't strange because it's like, okay, this is just a director doing it, but this is directed by Jonathan Demme, who, if you don't know who he is, he's the director of Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is still like his only other, like, really, I think what else he's known for. I mean, he did Philadelphia. A lot of his other ones were not like big hits. So it's really just, yeah. I'm pretty sure he won the Best Director Oscar also. But, yeah, that kind of stuff. Because you have lots of movie directors that were used to do music videos before they really made it big. And
Spike Jonze.
Yep, Spike Jonze
did a bunch of music videos and
David
like skate
Fincher.
videos.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's just interesting just knowing that it was filmed over, because the whole, like, the first half of it, when I didn't know it was filmed over days, I'm trying to find the cameras. I'm like, how do they do that? Wait, where there was a camera that was just there, but then we went to a wide shot and it's not there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very well done. And besides, and something we didn't mention too, is when the concert starts, David Byrne is out there with his boombox, but there's no backdrop.
Yeah.
You were just seeing the back of the theater. It's bare, and they don't really add anything until the whole band comes out. Like, it's really bare bones, and it's only after the fourth song.
And every song feels like a completely different sort of, like, I read some review where it was like, what's fascinating is how David Byrne seems to become a completely different character in each song almost. you know, and a lot of
Yeah.
the lighting is very dynamic, but
Yeah.
also simple. And like he even like at one point he brings out a lamp and just
Yeah,
kind
the
of
lamp
like
thing was
I
great.
love the
dances
lamp
with a
thing.
lamp and like just stands next to a lamp. It's a floor lamp, but it just like adds like just the right feel to the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's like the whole band's backlit in one, and the other one they're all kind of lit up with silhouettes.
yeah,
And
there's even
always
a,
some dynamic thing going on.
yeah, and even one of the songs, I think it's the Girlfriend's Better or no. What's the
Girlfriend's Better is the big suit one.
Yeah, there's a guy with a light just walking around making
Yeah.
unique
Oh, yeah.
shadows. Yeah.
Making shadows out of
That I
people.
thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's time we give this a score, which is
I think pretty clear where this one's landing.
I don't know. This is going to be a tough one.
You're right. We'll
we
have
might
to think
have
about 5 out
another
of 5.
Beyond the Black Rainbow coming.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, Phil.
So Philip,
Yeah.
what would you give this movie?
Let me think about it 5 out of 5 for a second. And I think I'll probably, like, if I was giving it 5 out of 5 rating, I would probably pick like maybe, and this is gonna sound nuts, probably a 5 out of 5. Me is Talking Heads the best band ever.
What about you, Craig? What would you give this little talkie that we saw?
Man, I don't even have a clever thing to say. It's 5 out of 5. Even if you're not a fan of the band,
Yeah, I meant
I
when I
would
said
say-
there's like truly something for everyone in this.
Yeah.
just watch this movie. Even if you just want to see what a actual good concert looks like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this is the best concert I've ever seen.
Yeah. I think even if you just got a puppy and you're very tired and you want to stay home and hang out with that puppy and you have to go to the movie theater alone and you really, really don't want to do that, and then you go sit down in the chair with your Bunch of Crunch and then you start watching the movie,
Sour Patch Kids.
it's
is what
really
I am.
great. Mine's normally the cookie dough,
Huh.
but they didn't have it, so I got the Bunch of Crunch, and I think I'm switching over. There's
Oh.
just more in there.
Wow.
And there's no extra plastic wrapping that the cookie dough has. That's annoying. No one needs to hear about this. Will, what are you giving this? I think you are probably the most wild card here.
Yeah, it's really hard to say what I'm gonna do.
Well, okay, what would you have given it back when you were younger watching the VHS version?
I don't
And
think
then
I ever
this
had a
one.
VHS. You know what? I think I'm gonna give it 5. I got some groceries, some peanut butter to last a couple of days, but I ain't got no speakers, ain't got no headphones, ain't got no records to play. Out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a Best Picture winner.
Oh yes, simply the best.
Yes. Well, that's a different.
It's not a band. Doesn't matter.
What?
Anyway, so what are we watching next week? Well, if you're a listener of the podcast, you already know because we told you in the last episode and earlier in this episode. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna watch The Warriors, which is a movie from the 70s ish, maybe 80s. I think it's like right on the cusp. So, you know, before we all like changed our afros into Flock of Seals haircuts, you know, the time.
Oh,
Mm-hmm,
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know all about hair.
so are we ready for our
Oh,
new
yeah,
weekly
we-
segment?
Yes.
Oh.
But
I'm
before
gonna smoke you this time.
before we go, we're gonna play a little game of Rotten from My Head to My Toes, where we figure out how many Rotten Tomatoes it takes for Phil to lose this game. Nope, that didn't make any sense. Darn it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna win this time.
Probably.
All right. Shutter Island from 2010.
Ooh, Shutter Island. I saw that and I remember thinking,
87.
I'm never gonna remember what happened in this movie. I'm gonna go with 74.
Will gets it 68%.
Yeah, I thought
Ooh,
so.
okay.
This is a
I
Martin
thought people
Scorsese,
like that one
right?
more.
It was like one of his worst reviewed ones, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't the best one I've ever seen of his. Spice World, 1997.
Ooh,
Oh,
32.
Hundo.
What did you say, Phil?
A hundo.
You might get it just because of how far apart we are.
That's my hope.
Will gets it 36%.
Oh, I'm so
Oh,
close.
dang. Okay.
Tropic Thunder from 2008.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
boy. 53.
Oh, yeah, I think that's probably about right. I'm going to go with 67.
Will gets it 82%.
Really?
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
Wonder how Robert Downey Jr. feels about that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Transformers, 2007.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, 81.
I'm going to go 56.
58%. Will gets it.
yeah. Phil, you
Okay,
don't know
let's
what
see
the
if we can go for a
hell you're
shutout.
doing.
Yeah.
Watchmen from 2009.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy. 53.
75.
It's 65, so I think Will gets that.
Would you say,
Yeah.
Phil? 53?
53.
Wow, so
53,
close. And that's
yep.
a shutout. That's a
That's a shutout.
5
Sorry, Phil.
zip for Phil. Phil got
Listen, I'm just playing the long game. This is a hustle.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, eventually we're going to put some real money down on this, and I'm going to win
Yeah.
all of that money.
I also think like the degree of which that we are taking this seriously is very low.
Very low. Yeah.
But
That's what I want. you to
mine's
think.
just a little bit higher. So I'm taking it a little bit more seriously than Phil. So, and that's literally all it takes.
I'm going to study up.
Go for it.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. In case you want to tell us who you think the members of Talking Heads, what Ninja Turtles they are.
Ooh,
Ooh, yeah.
tell us.
So this episode was brought to you by my parents.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, my mom is a patron, and also they're the reason why I love this movie. Because we used to watch it all the time. It was like a Chodas thing that we just all watched this movie together. Anyways, so if you're interested in hearing your name shouted out on the podcast, consider being important to me in my childhood. Or you could just join our Patreon at patreon.com/mumbleandshrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Play. That's all for this episode. I am Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
And I'm Craig Norland.
And I'm Fitz the dog.
Oh, hi Fitz.
Gosh.
Bark, bark, bark.
You spent the whole episode we brought you in, and this is the first time you speak up? Gosh,
I don't know music.
can't believe I paid you for this.
I'm
only 9
weeks old.
0 out of 5.
All right, kill your dog.
Go watch this movie. Go to the theaters right now.
Right
Even
now.
if they're not open, break in. There's no
Yeah.
rules.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. I loved it.
Movies with My Best Friend Phil is brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions, the creators of very serious video production for very serious clients. This episode was recorded and edited by Will Chodas. Research provided by Phil Kessel and Craig Norland. Cover art was designed by Will Chodas and Phil Kessel provided likeness. For more content like this, visit mumbleandshrug.com.
These are the armies of the night.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The Furies. The Boppers. The Hi-Hats. The Lizzies. The Turnbull ACs. The Gramercy Riffs. And these are the Warriors.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
They're from Coney Island.
Warriors. You guys are the big dudes, huh?
Now they're in the Bronx,
We're going back.
27 miles behind enemy lines.
It's the only choice we got.
Between them and safety stand 20,000 cops and 100,000 sworn enemies.
I want them all. I want all the warriors.
They've got one way out. They've got one chance. They've got one night. The Warriors.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.